Hello, I'm Kat. I am a creative based in Chicago. I'm the operations manager for Stratus Creative Marketing, which is a digital marketing agency. We are completely remote, so we can help your business no matter where you are. I am recording this session from my office here in Chicago. You will hear my cats running around during this. You'll hear cars driving by. I'm not sorry about it. That's just kind of how my life is. About a week ago, I was in Kentucky visiting some friends, and a week before that, I was in Greece. If you want to know more about me, you can find me on Instagram. In fact, I give you permission to tune out during this session and just go creep on my Instagram. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Or do. Whatever. I've always been creative, but my creativity doesn't really come in the way that I've always considered to be creative. My creativity comes through systems and organization and making processes to make things work better. I'm really interested in operations, in how things work, in making them work better and making them more efficient. That's where my creativity comes into play. Currently, in my role at Stratus Creative Marketing, I'm the operations manager. We have a team of 8. We do content creation, logo and branding design, and website design and development. And my role as operations manager is to make sure that everyone has what they need to do their job. That means systems, that means tools, any sort of processes that's going to make their job easier. It's my job to make that happen. I used to think that being so systems oriented and task minded actually was a disadvantage to my creativity, but now I realize that it's not. It's actually an advantage. I get to use those things to help my team and even to help myself to be more creative. During this session, what I hope to do is to help you find ways in your own creativity that you can systematize, that you can organize, that you can create processes that are going to help you be more creative. There's this common misconception that creatives don't need systems. Like I said, that's a misconception. Creatives need systems. You can't think outside the box if there's no box. Sorry, this is my cat, Sushi. Say hi. She's a little needy, so she might make a few appearances during this. Anyways, if you're thinking, I used to have a system for this and I spent so much time in the system that I never got any creative work done. I totally get it. That just means that the system wasn't the right system for you. It wasn't the system that you needed. The right systems will never stifle creativity. They'll only help your creativity grow. They'll help you be more creative. The first system that really makes sense to a lot of creative people is a template. So for example, let's say you're a graphic designer, you're jumping into Illustrator, you're setting up your logo, you finished the logo, you're gonna bring it in, now you need to export all the different assets that you need. You could spend time every time that you do a logo design creating all of those artboards from scratch, or you could have a template. That template is going to save you so much time. Setting up the template, it's going to take a lot of work, right? You're going to have to go through lists and figure out, what the assets are that you need every single time you design a logo. But ultimately, then every time that you design a logo after that, you're going to have that template in place. It's going to make it so much easier for you to export those assets at the end of the process. That is one teeny tiny example of a system that makes your life as a creative so much easier. Let's look at some other systems that I have used in personal endeavors, in passion projects, which are what I would consider anything that you do just for fun, maybe to grow your portfolio, but you're not necessarily getting paid for it or making any money off of it. So I'll go through some systems that I've used in passion projects, in actual paying gigs, in my full-time job, and in past jobs as well. If you're a content creator, you have absolutely heard of content buckets. This, believe it or not, is a system. It's a process. Content buckets are the categories or the types of things that you're posting in your content. This might be for social media, maybe email marketing, maybe any other type of content, video, anything. One of my passion projects is Widows Lost and Found. I lost my husband to COVID when I was 25, just a week before his 26th birthday. And something I realized as a very young widow was that there was no place for me to find my people, to find people who get it, without having to go on these awkward coffee dates, without having to kind of meet people through friend of a friend. And so I developed this online community called Widows Lost and Found. It's like a group message with all of your best widow friends. We also have an Instagram account, and I'm the main content creator, the sole content creator for that Instagram account. I batch produce all of the content, and in order to help me do that, I have a list of content buckets. So now when I sit down to batch produce content, instead of saying, oh my gosh, what am I gonna post? A really good starting point is to say, I'm going to start with one quote, one conversation starter, one meme, one frequently asked question, one resource, one reflection, one testimonial. Oh my gosh, that's a week's worth of posts if I'm posting once a day, which I don't do. Content buckets really help you streamline your content, figure out what the heck am I going to post. Another system that I've learned in content creation is repurposing. We talk a lot at Stratus about content repurposing. We've actually developed an entire workshop on this. I think our next one is going to be in January. You should totally sign up if you're interested. It's a lot of fun. We go through exactly how to repurpose your own content, and we actually brainstorm with you and help you develop content ideas moving forward. Anyways, content repurposing is taking one piece of content and turning it into multiple pieces of content. For example, you might take a blog post and make a social media post about it. But that's not enough. You should also make another social media post about it. You could also send an email about it. You could also make a podcast episode talking about the content of the blog post. That is repurposing. Like I said, we have a workshop that gets into the nitty-gritty of this, but I do want to walk you through our kind of checklist for repurposing at Stratus. Every piece of content starts with an idea. Those ideas are going to turn into, first, either a blog post or a podcast episode. If you do video content, maybe it turns into a YouTube video. Then, from that long form content, we have a checklist of everything that we're going to turn that into, that we're going to repurpose that into. First is going to be a social media post focusing on a quote. It might also focus on the main idea of the blog post. Then we're going to have a social media post that's a carousel post that you can actually swipe through. We're also going to create a reel with original audio. Maybe it's a talking head to the camera, but then we'll also create a reel that takes a trending audio and adapts that trend for our content, for our long form content. We're also going to turn that long form content into either an email, a standalone email, or a blurb within a newsletter. And then we're also going to take that content and turn it into pins for Pinterest. Hi. So if you're following along, that's a blog post. Maybe it's also a podcast and also a video. It's also a social media post with a quote, with the main idea, a carousel post, a reel with original audio, a reel with trending audio, an email, and pins for Pinterest. That is 10 pieces of content from your original one piece of long form content. That system is the one I get the most excited about. It's incredible. It has revolutionized the way that we create content. And if you're thinking, yeah, but then people are seeing so much of the same stuff. No, they're not. People aren't going to see every single piece of content that you put out. I mean, I follow Nick Goodner religiously, and yet still I miss posts that he put out, especially if he's sharing to stories or if he's sharing a carousel post. And let's be honest, I just get too bored to swipe through to the end. No offense, Nick. People don't see every single piece of content that you put out. Also, a lot of people who subscribe to your email list aren't following you on Instagram or vice versa. So sending something out to your email list and posting it on Instagram is a really good idea. Repurposing, like I said, I could geek out over this forever. It's so exciting to me. I love the systems that we've developed to repurpose content. The most fundamental system for a creative is the basic to-do list. So when I was working in church sphere, I was a graphic designer for a mega church down in Florida for a very long time. No, for 3 years. How old am I? I'm only 27, so 3 years is, more than 10% of my life. So it feels like a long time, but I guess really it's not a long time. Anyways, I digress. When I was a graphic designer for this church, we did a new sermon series pretty much every month. And with each sermon series comes the same list of deliverables. What we didn't have at the time, which I still can't believe that we didn't have this, was a checklist of all of the sermon series deliverables that we needed for each sermon series. So you're going to start with your main graphic, right? That's your 1920 by 1080 just hero graphic. Then you also have a version of that for the website. Then you also have your digital signage. For that particular church, we had 4 campuses, and so we had a different size of digital signage for every single campus. We had to create all of those. We also have print signage. Again, a multi-campus church. We would have different size printouts for every single campus. Then we would have an email header. We had an app, so we had to create an app icon. We actually had to make that in multiple different sizes for different places on the app. And we would have to create social media posts for each sermon series. So all of those things we had to do for every single sermon series. I wrote them all down and I made a to-do list, and this revolutionized the way that we were doing our sermon series graphics, because It's a wonder that we hadn't done this before. We had never had them written down. And so we were always saying, wait a minute, what was that one other thing that I need to do? We figured it out. I think she's meowing. I don't know. One more system to talk about with you is a daily workflow. You could also adapt this for a weekly workflow. So depending on the type of job that you have, you're gonna have tasks that you need to do every single day. I highly recommend you write those down. You have them not like laminated or anything, but have them in a list so that you can see, okay, here are the things that I need to do today. Maybe you start with checking and responding to emails. Maybe after that, you create a task list. You could consider the 1-3-5 rule. That's one big task or project you need to complete, 3 medium-sized tasks, and then 5 small tasks that you need to complete. So when you create your task list for the day, you could structure it that way. You could also just write down, these are the things I need to do today if 1-3-5 feels overwhelming. Then have some time, complete the tasks that are on your list. Again, come back and check notifications. That might be Instagram DMs, that might be email again, it might be your task management software. And then check and respond to emails again. And after you've done that, you can list tomorrow's tasks. This is a really nice way to streamline your own workflow during the day. This is just a basic checklist. You can develop whatever it is that makes most sense to your own individual workflow. Whew. So I feel like I just went over so many different systems, and I'm betting a lot of them don't even apply to you. Hopefully they were able to inspire you to develop your own systems and processes, but maybe you're thinking like, okay, I know that I need a system, but I'm not really sure how to develop it. It's cool, I got you. I'm gonna walk you through my favorite steps for developing systems. Number 1, list everything that you do. This is so important for productivity, for efficiency, for figuring out what do you do. Once you have it all on paper or on screen or however you like to write down, maybe it's on a whiteboard, then you can figure out, oh, these are all the things I'm doing, here's how I need to organize them. If they're just in your head, it's impossible to organize them, right? You're gonna have to put them down on paper somehow. When you write this list, write down all the tasks that you do more than once. And don't just write like the big picture tasks. Get down to the nitty gritty, like not just responding to emails. No. There's a difference between responding to internal emails, emails between team members, and responding to client emails. Those emails are going to take a lot more time and energy than just shooting an email off to a coworker. Also, with logo designing, don't just write designing a logo. Write all the steps that are involved in designing a logo, right? So there's brainstorming, there's drafting, there's reviewing those logos with the client, there's exporting all of the final assets, and there's tons and tons of steps in between. Write all of those down. Already, this is a lot of work, but I promise it's going to be worth it. If you want to take that list one step further, which I highly recommend you do, you can put all of these tasks in a spreadsheet, and then you're going to tally up what tasks you love to do versus you hate to do, what tasks you're good at versus the tasks that you're bad at, what tasks you absolutely need to do versus the tasks that you don't need to do. Once you have those all listed out, you can go through and say, wow, I really love this task, but I do not need to do it. Does my love for it outweigh the fact that I don't need to do it? If yes, keep doing it. If no, stop doing it. Save that time, dedicate it to something else. Similarly, if you have a task that you hate to do and you're bad at it and you don't really need to do it, stop doing it. Just stop. No more. But if you didn't write this list, if you didn't categorize these things this way, you may not ever know, oh my gosh, I can free myself up from doing that. I don't have to do that thing anymore. Once you have all of your tasks listed out, it's time to develop your system. Now, this is a little bit intimidating, especially if you're not systems-minded and process-oriented the way that I am. But it's okay. I promise we're gonna figure it out. From your long list of tasks of everything that you do, now you're going to go through and you're going to decide for each task what you'll stop doing, what you'll automate, what you'll outsource, and what you'll keep doing. Now, depending on your work situation, you may not be able to, for example, outsource tasks, but you could try and get your supervisor to agree to let you pass it off to someone else, right? So when I say outsource, I don't necessarily mean hiring a contractor. It's just things that someone else can do. You don't need to be the person who does them. So the tasks that you'll stop doing, write them down, move them into a list of that says, things I'm not doing anymore, so that you don't get stuck in, oh, I've always done this, so now I'm doing it again. No, you decided you're not doing that anymore. Put it on the list of things you're not doing. For things you'll automate, this gets a little tricky because it's really a case-by-case basis. But for example, if you're a logo designer, I've used this example a lot, I know, you can automate the process of developing all the artboards that you need for each logo project. Look through your list of tasks, figure out the things that you can automate, or the things that you can create templates for. Your welcome email to clients, for example, can be a template email. You're going to change a couple sentences here and there, but for the most part, it's the same thing every time. Your offboarding emails when you wrap up a project, those are going to be the same. If you're delivering sermon series graphics, that email that you send out to everybody on staff who needs all the graphics, that could be a template email. You don't have to spend time writing that email every single time. Then the tasks that you'll outsource. What tasks are you not good at or do you hate doing but that need to be done? Those tasks should be outsourced if possible. So if you're a freelancer, try and find a virtual assistant who can do a couple of those things for you. It might take longer to train that person to do those things, but the time and the energy and the mind space it's going to save you is going to free you up to be more creative in doing the things that you have to do. And then for the tasks that you'll continue doing, figure out on what recurring basis you're going to do those, what systems are going to help you perform those tasks better, and put those into a system that's going to work for you. Maybe it's a task management software. For example, I use ClickUp at work. I love it. In fact, if you're going to switch to ClickUp, let me know. I would love to set up your ClickUp space for you. I love ClickUp. ClickUp, please sponsor me. Maybe you could use Todoist. I've used Asana in the past. Monday, I've heard great things. I'll actually just, here's a list of a bunch of different task management softwares that you could look into. But input all of those tasks that you're doing into that software. Your software could also just be a list that you write out. Maybe you just pin it on a bulletin board. It does not have to be fancy if that's not going to help you. As you're developing your system, figure out how you're going to track your progress and how you define success for this system. In terms of tracking your progress, this is mostly going to be if you're crossing off items on that to-do list. What you need to figure out, though, is how you define success. So defining success for your system looks like figuring out, is this saving me time? Is this saving me money? Is this saving me energy? Is this freeing me up to be more creative? Or is it actually stifling my creativity? Once you have a system, don't be afraid to adjust it. Now, that said, give your system time to help you. If you put your task list into a software and you spend, an hour crossing off the tasks that you've done for the day and you think, yeah, this isn't really helping, I'm going to throw it out the door. An hour wasn't really enough time to figure out if this particular system is going to help you. Give it time. This might be a week, this might be 2 weeks, it might be a month, it might be 30 days. It could even be a quarter or the length of one project if you have longer term projects. So decide what that trial period is. And then at the end of that period, reassess, set a notification on your calendar, make a task on that list to go back to look at it, to debrief either with yourself or with your team. Okay, was this helpful? Did this help me? Did this free me up to be more creative? Again, setting up a template is going to take time the first time, but save you time in the long run. Any system is going to be the same way. Setting it up is going to take a lot of time. Getting used to it is going to take a lot of time. But once it's set up correctly, then it's going to save you a lot of time in the long run, and it's going to make you feel more creative. I feel like this was almost certainly the nerdiest few minutes of Creative 24 that you're going to hear. But this is the stuff that I live for. I love creating lists. I love managing people's workflow. I had a staff member the other day say, hey, can you take a look at my due dates? I'm not really sure how I'm going to get everything done this week. And I just got to play Tetris and say, okay, if you do this on Tuesday and this on Thursday, then you can get it all done this week. I love that stuff. That said, if you're hearing this, you're like, wow, I really need a system that's going to help me, but I don't know what that system is. Shoot me an email. My email address is right here, kat@Stratus Creative Marketing. Send me an email, kind of briefly describe your system, what process it is that you're trying to fix or you're trying to make more efficient, and let's talk about it. Let's see if we can make it better for you. I mean, I would love to see every single creative in this room, quote unquote, be the most creative that you can be. And I deeply believe that that comes with organization, with systems, with a box that is clearly designated that you can think outside of. If you agree, if you have a process or a system that you want to make more efficient, let me know. I would love to help you out.